TGIF, it's Friday. Hooray! Our last day with Psalm 1 through 3 for this week's manna. I'm Jerry Catherine, and this morning we are getting up to get our day started by going out and getting our morning manna in the very same way that the Hebrew people woke up in the wilderness every morning in Exodus 16 and onward to receive God's one-day ration of the good stuff, the manna that fell from heaven. God provided then for God's people, and God is still continuing to provide for all people everywhere today by giving us just what we need to get through, to not only get through each day, but to thrive throughout each day. Good stuff, good new stuff every single day to sustain us day by day. No more, no less, just enough. I hope the last 4 days have fed your soul, and I continue to pray and hope that today, on this Friday, will continue to feed your soul and feed your soul throughout the weekend as we go on Saturday and Sunday to enjoy our weekend. So again, we are in Psalm 1 through 3. Hear these words of the psalmist of our God in the NIV translation of the Bible. Blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in the way that sinners take, or sit in the company of mockers, but whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and who meditates on his law day and night. That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields fruit in its season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do, they prosper. So after the South Carolina peach season, the summer peach season, when all the peaches sadly stop producing their delicious peaches, or in the fall when our deciduous trees that line neighborhoods like mine start to lose all their leaves, these trees aren't dead. They do appear to be dead, but it's just not their season to produce fruit, to be in bloom, to sprout, to leaf out. It's their season to be dormant, a period of slowing down, of deep sleep, or even of inner rejuvenation. A lot happens during non-fruiting, non-blossoming, non-leafing season for plants and trees. It's not that nothing takes place. It's just that the growth is beneath the surface, readying that tree or plant for just the right time, just the right season to blossom fruit or leaf in their own season, which doesn't always coincide with the seasons of other plants and other trees. Each has their own season, their own rhythm of life, their own time to bear fruit. Now, I don't know if the psalmist of this first psalm was intending to write of an evergreen tree planted by streams of water, but it seems to me as I read it that the psalmist is talking about a deciduous tree that has clear seasons of growth that bear fruit, but also has seasons of dormancy. A season of dormancy that is kind of a fruiting in and of itself in a different kind of way. It certainly, for me, matches the cycle we seem to be created for, that God created us for in Genesis 1, where we see God worked and rested and set the example for all of us, all of creation, to include rest to include periods and seasons of slowing down, of deep sleep into the hustle and bustle of our everyday lives. Psalm 1, for me, is a reminder of that planting ourselves in God means to be attuned to spiritual seasons of bearing outward fruit, yes, and that there are necessary seasons of not bearing outward fruit. Fruit, yes, Psalm 1 says, is expected, but in the right season for each of us. Which tells me that we, who are mostly creatures of production, who don't feel useful or purposeful unless we are producing, fruiting, blossoming all the time, we need to slow down and to be aware and attuned that life, just like trees, has its seasons. And we can't rush or push or wish ourselves to be in a different season than where we are presently planted. In all seasons, whether fruiting or not, we remain and continue to remain planted by the water, planted in the source of all of life, who is God. In every season, God is with us. And though it may feel though we are withered and dead, we aren't. Remember, we worship a God of resurrection. And so maybe Psalm 1 encourages us to trust the process, to trust the seasons of bearing fruit and not bearing fruit, to trust God to be Lord and creator of it all. For in every season, there is something to learn, something to help us grow, something to make us stronger as God's people, something to give us meaning and purpose. Here's the caveat for the psalmist in Psalm 1, of course. As long as we, during those slower, dormant, fruit-bearing seasons, we continue to remain in God, delighting in God's instruction, as the first part of Psalm or the middle part of Psalm 1 says, and not so easily being pulled to walk, to stand, to sit with those who want to convince us that our non-bearing fruit seasons are signs of God's absence, as the first part of that Psalm 1:1 talks about. That's just not true. The psalmist and the whole Bible really says to us. So, whatever season you are in, remember this. 1, expect a season of fruit to happen at just the right time. 2, don't overlook or undervalue or dismiss the non-fruit bearing seasons. They are important to your growth as well. And finally, 3, continue to always, whatever season you are in, to be planted by the living water. Blessed is God, blessed am I. Continue to breathe in, blessed is God, and breathe out, blessed am I. Have a happy, a blessed weekend, and I will see you next week for more Morning Manna.